Yo, what's up everyone? OG over here from PlayerEssence. Welcome back to another video. Today, I wanted to talk about what Shuntaro Furukawa had to say recently that's causing some headlines around, saying that Nintendo is going to shift away from home console development, and people are kind of panicking about this or worrying about it, but that's not exactly what Shuntaro Furukawa had to say, and there's a lot of context that are left out, a lot of the articles and headlines that you guys are seeing, and of course, some people even saying something like Nintendo Switch is Nintendo's last home console, stuff like that. No, I don't think so, but let's go ahead and get into what Shuntaro Furukawa had to say and kind of my interpretation of that. So in a recent interview with the Nikkei, here is the question that was posed to Furukawa first. Have you ever run into an innovation dilemma where the company's past successes were too big, making innovation impossible? Here's what Furukawa had to say exactly. Quote, "We aren't really fixated on our consoles. At the moment, we're offering the uniquely developed Nintendo Switch and its software, and that's what we're basing how we deliver the Nintendo experience on. That being said, technology changes. We'll continue to think flexibly about how to deliver that experience as time goes on." So I want to first break down what he had to say here. He does have another segment where he talks about it, but Nintendo says we deliver the Nintendo experience. They want to deliver something unique to gamers out there that is evolved with technology, because he says as technology changes. So he's saying as technology changes, as things go along, we're going to change things as well. Like a hybrid probably wasn't possible in what they've done before in a good price and everything like that. But now that the Switch came along and there was the Tegra X1 and that you could get that console level graphics, or at least close to it, on a mobile chip. So they decided to change their business strategy based on what went down with 3DS and the Wii U, where they came from the Wii. So it always changes and there's always new methods. So let's get into what he had to say next on the topic. "It has been 30 years since we started developing consoles. Nintendo's history goes back even further than that. And through all the struggles that they faced, the only thing that they thought about was what to make next. In the long term, perhaps our focus as a business could shift away from home consoles. Flexibility is just as important as ingenuity." So what that quote is right there, people are taking that as, oh, Nintendo's going to shift away from home consoles. Nintendo is going to move away from what they're doing with the Switch. But people aren't putting in the whole quote about long term and as technology changes. Obviously, every company has a contingency plan. Everybody does. Sony, Microsoft, Amazon, every single company has some type of all digital or streaming type of plan to put into fruition if these home consoles, if these boxes don't work. So he's basically just talking about that. It's no more different than PlayStation Now or something like the Xbox Game Pass or stuff like that. Heck, even the Nintendo Switch Online with the Nintendo NES games that are pretty much all online based and aren't something that's physical or something like that. So that's essentially what he's talking about here. He didn't say anything about the Switch being the last home console or that Nintendo is going to move away from home consoles willingly. He's talking about long term. He's talking about as technology changes. He's talking about if they have to move towards that, if the market dictates it, if things don't go as well. That's what he's talking about. Not if the Switch and their consoles continue to sell and they're doing very well. I doubt in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years or whatever the case is, Nintendo isn't going to make the money off of it. What they'd probably do is both, right? They'd probably have a physical media type of box as well, even years into the future, and also have all of that streaming for those who want that until there is a home console market that dies out or whatever the case is. So that's my interpretation, because he's talking about if long term. He's not saying that Nintendo's just going to move away from home console development and that's flat out it. You really need to provide that context, in my opinion, in order to have a legit headline, or at least just to talk about this in a way that's not clickbaity, because I've been seeing a ton of that saying Nintendo's going to shift away from home consoles just flat out. But you have to say long term, or if the market dictates, or as technology changes, they could. Like, that would be the right headline to put in there, because you're leaving out without so much context of what's going on in terms of what he's trying to say, and people are rushing to certain videos and comments and saying, oh, well, Nintendo's moving away, or some people are even freaking out about this. But here's what I think in terms of my own opinion when it comes to Nintendo and their future and all of that. So one, I do feel that Nintendo isn't going to stop making devices, boxes, or anything like that anytime soon. Even if there was an all digital future, you still need a box, you still need something at home or a device in order to stream that content, and Nintendo could easily move into that. They can easily move into making that experience in a different form factor, like they did with the Nintendo Switch, offering a 3DS or handheld experience in addition to a home console experience all in one. Is something that people thought that they couldn't do, something that people thought would fail, has actually become an outstanding success. So I do think that Nintendo isn't really going to move away from that. Now, when it comes to physical media or anything like that, yeah, there's obviously going to be ways and areas where Nintendo's pushing for that, maybe even streaming, but I don't see Nintendo moving away from that physical box, because you want to be able to control your atmosphere. You want to be able to tell people, hey, this is a Nintendo product, this is what you're going to be able to get out of it, this is how we're going to handle things. And of course the money side as well, like what would you stream to? What would be the device moving away from home consoles, and then to what? And even with headlines like that, some people are even trying to say, oh, well, the Switch is a handheld, so they're only going to go to handheld development. So some people are even interpreting it that way, which is Nintendo Switch is a hybrid. It is a full and through hybrid. When it plays on home console, you have access to functions that weren't available on the portable side when it comes to the clock speeds and everything like that. So it operates different, can have higher resolutions when it's docked compared to when it's portable. So that makes it a hybrid. It changes in nature, not only in what it can do and what it offers, but also where you can take it as well. That is a hybrid. It is not a pure handheld or a pure home console. And some people have a problem, thinking about that or that concept, just because it hasn't been done as well as Nintendo has done it for the price that you guys are seeing. There's been devices like it, but not for $299, and not in the way that you have the Joy-Cons and how it attaches and detaches and kind of the different stuff that you could do there. It is a all-in-one hybrid. So I think that that's essentially what Nintendo's talking about. As the tech changes, as things go on, they'll find different ways. And I think maybe Furukawa is also talking about in a traditional sense. I still think that they're always going to have some type of device that they offer, just because you need that. And I don't think they're going to go to somebody else's type of device in order to put their content out on, unless they absolutely have to, like Sega, for example, right? Sega got out of the home console development, not because that was something that they wanted to do, but it was because they were forced to do it. So I'm not going to go into the history of how Sega failed and everything, but I think it's just the flexibility of being able to change as time goes along and finding new ideas. And that's kind of how the question was posed, right? It was posed like the innovation dilemma. How would you do things? So Furukawa was just being open and saying, hey, like if technology changes, we could shift away from what we've done normally. We could shift away from that home console type of development and do something kind of different. So that's kind of how I interpret it when I look at certain headlines that weren't clickbaiting with their titles. It seems like they interpreted it the same way. It didn't seem any different from what any other president or somebody would say. As things change, we're open to kind of moving on to different tech and trying things new. And like I talked about with Sony and Microsoft, they already have their contingency plans built up way more than Nintendo, because PlayStation now lets you stream games all digitally to the devices. I think you can do it on PC, right? I think there are some TVs that have it built in or something like that. Obviously, you have the Xbox Game Pass. You have all this connectivity between Windows, tablets, and devices, PC. So Microsoft sees it as well. We're getting rumors of different types of Xboxes or next Xboxes that are like the traditional home console box, but then also maybe a cheaper streaming box. We even had rumors about a streaming Xbox One as well that has no disk drive or something like that. So we've seen this before, right? The PSP Go, that was also something that was like that as well. No physical media. So companies have been putting together these type of plans. What would happen if physical media died out, or if the normal home consoles weren't there? How would we continue to be a business? Because they're looking at home console sales and they're comparing that to tablets and phones and everything, and obviously those markets are way bigger. Apple and what they do and how PCs sell and all that, there's just way more sales than traditional home consoles. So as a business, you always have to look ahead and what you can do in the future, and that's kind of how I saw Furukawa talking about here. Not that Nintendo Switch is their last home console, or Nintendo's going to move away from home console development on their own. It's going to be as technology changes and what they can do. To me, I saw it more of a contingency plan, more so than anything, but those are just my thoughts on the matter and kind of how I interpreted what Furukawa had to say. Let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comment section below, and of course, if you want to read the full article, please make sure you do so. I think it's a pretty good read from what Furukawa had to say to the Nikkei, so check it out, link in the description below. Alright Ninja, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Really helps us spread the content of PlayerEssence across the internet in addition to YouTube. Also make sure you check out our Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube live gaming pages. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for latest RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you Ninja for the next video. Peace!